What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of That Is Scuffed. Welcome to episode 43, as we are in the close to the near end of March. We are getting right into April. I was thinking of mid-March, and I was like, oh, go away that way. But here we are. March Madness is full afloat. Baseball season is right around the corner. Padres and Dodgers have already played in the Seoul Series. A lot of things are happening right around this time for the sports world, and especially for us because we are right down to the wire coming into the final couple of weeks here in OC Wiffle Ball. Stephen Hayden on the other side, how are we doing today, sir?
We are. I mean, if we're talking about the real baseball, I've been playing since January, but if we want to talk about that lame MLB stuff, we can.
Damn.
We're doing all right. It was an interesting weekend, as we'll get into later on with some certain stuff, but it was interesting to say the least.
Yeah, very interesting indeed. If people did not know, which was actually great because a lot of people did show up to what was supposed to be the All-Star Game / Home Run Derby. Unfortunately, that has been rescheduled if you follow the OC Wiffle Ball Instagram page due to inclement weather. We unfortunately got rained out in full-fledged, and the wind going about, 40 to 50 miles an hour in the other direction. We did do partial home run derby, but I'm not sure what exactly is going to happen with that because we got halfway through like the first round or whatever, and then we called it right after with the heavy rain and everything around 11 a.m. So switching that to next weekend. Unfortunately, I cannot be there, so I won't be checking out the All-Star Game whatsoever. I don't know if Steven will be as well, but yeah.
Unfortunately, we didn't ask.
I asked, okay? Jeez. You can answer the question or not, sir.
Oh my God, sorry to sneak that in there.
You just want to sneak that in there. It's because I have an All-Star Game MVP, so I won't have any chance of getting the next one. So,
wow, that's cute. First time?
Yeah, first time, sir. I was going for my second one, and that got rained out. So dumb. Anyways, here we are. End of week 6 has already occurred. And we have a new couple of changes in the standings like talked about before. So we're going to kind of cover all of that like we usually do on the show. So why don't we start off, and then later on we'll talk about what exactly happened with the All-Star Game, unless you want to touch base on that real fast, Steven.
Well, yeah, I guess we didn't know. I didn't know we were talking about this first. But yeah, it was a wet weekend out there. Friday was all right. Then it kind of rained overnight, rained into Saturday. I went out there just for the home run derby because I thought I was supposed to be at my game at 11:30. Then in the middle of you hitting, I get told that my game is rained out. So I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going to stay here. And then we decided, and then we went for a while in the rain. We got through the whole first round of the home run derby, but then decided to call it off. Everyone left, and I was like, oh, okay. I guess we're done here. So it'll be rescheduled to a future date. We don't know for sure if it's going to be next week or not. We'll see exactly when it happens. But when it happens, hopefully people will be there. And luckily we had a better turnout than last time, so that was good to see. But we'll see what happens for the future.
Yeah, I'm like, just check the weather app too. Apparently, there's a chance it might rain again next weekend. So who knows if we're gonna get rain? I know, for real. Like it's crazy. The amount of delays and pushbacks that we've had this season has just been crazier. I feel like we've had a lot more this season than we did last year's spring season with the rainouts and everything like that. It's just been kind of, rainy weather. Like, it's just, what can you do? You can't really do anything about it. Just got to play your hand with the weather gods. Get better. Yeah, just get better.
Get better weather.
Yeah, or just build some indoor facilities. We don't have those in California because we usually have sun in the sky. But this time around, we're apparently comping the Northwest with all the rain that they get. Anyways, let's move on, though, to our usual schedule program, which is the Week 6 breakdown. We'll start off with the first couple rounds of games, starting off with the very first one in the OC Juicers versus the Avocados. Do keep in mind that at the time of this recording, we still don't have the stats updated quite yet, so we can't really get any of those stats quite to you guys, but we'll try to keep it as in-depth as possible. Anyways, OC Juicers versus the Avocabros is the first game of the day. This came out to be a very close one, high-scoring game all the way to the end. Final score 21-20. Avocabros get a win that they actually kind of needed if they wanted to remain in the seedings for the Division One playoffs.
Yeah, they did get an important one here. And we'll talk more about later what that kind of means for their standings and things like that. But OC Juicers with a relatively good game here. 21-20. It's what we've kind of seen from the Avocabros in the past, with a lot of high-scoring games from both teams. We haven't seen that too much this season from them. We've seen it a couple times. For example, when they beat the LOC 24-23 after that continuation from week one. But a very close game here. I mean, yeah, the 5 and 6 seeds going against each other, both teams trying to make sure that they can get into the that's a situation where they can put themselves in the D1 playoffs. But unfortunately, Juicers came into today with a 2-7 record. They really needed like 3 wins. They basically need to win out the rest of the season to be able to have a good chance at it. And this game does kind of put them out. They still have a good record. We'll talk about them plenty more later. But for the Avocabros, they get a needed win, which is going to be huge for them. And it's going to keep them in the 5th seed, especially since they got to go against the OC Wolves of LA next. And then just a big important win for the Avocabros and OC Juicers. It was almost one they almost made a statement, try to put themselves back in, but unfortunately not able to.
Yeah, trying to go for that last chance back in the Division One playoffs, but unfortunately they would have to basically win out most of their games if they wanted a chance for that. Joel Gonzalez has been leading the way for this team as well, as he got Rookie of the Year. I believe it was last season. I can't remember, but I think that's for sure. But really leading the way for this team, stepping up this season, especially with guys like Nick Tone and his team as well. So it's good to see that the OC Juicers had a last hoorah, but unfortunately the Avocabros prevailed. I believe they also had a substitute player or somebody else out there for their team. I'm not sure who it was, but it looked like they had somebody else out there playing for them. Anyways, moving on.
I don't know.
Someone. Mystery guy. We'll figure that out later. Anyways, moving on to the next game. This was 2 highly ranked teams in the OC Wiffle rankings. The Beach City Bombers versus the Trash Pandas. This came out to also a very close game between these 2 squads. Trash Pandas ultimately edging out, keeping that undefeated record up until this point against a pretty solid team in the Beach City Bombers.
Yeah, another interesting game here. Trash Pandas do keep their undefeated season alive. Up to this point, them and Beach City Bombers, I talked about it early in the year, how they were kind of the two teams running away, and since then we've kind of seen the Beach City Bombers fall off a little bit. We saw them take they lost their first game to the OC Wolves of LA. They lost to the Trash Pandas as well. Then they lost to the LOC in the Lions game, the Makeup Sand Series game, and then losing their 4th game here to the Trash Pandas is not the best sign for the Beach City Bombers, but I mean, a very close game again. I believe the first game it was 12-10 between the 2 teams. This one 8-6, so a little bit better pitching, a little bit less runs, but overall, I mean, Trash Pandas are continuing to roll. I mean, their team overall, it seems like they're on a mission, and we'll get into more with them later. They got 2 more games, but with the Beach City Bombers, this being their only game of the day as they fall to 5-4. It puts them in an interesting spot. I don't think I even expected them to be at the beginning of the year. So we'll see what keeps happening with this team. They got 5 important games coming up here that I think are doable, but it's really going to come down to them for that final game, week 8.
Yeah, it definitely will be. And on the Trash Pandas, this would be just one game of 3 that they had to play during this week. So they got a lot of action going on in week 6. So we'll just kind of keep an eye on what happens with the Beach City Bombers as they go down the road. Obviously, they're competing with the Avocabros, which we'll talk about in those standings a bit later. And also, speaking of which, next game with the Avocabros and the OC Wiffles of LA. Avocabros obviously got that nice win against the OC Juicers in a very tight game that we just mentioned. But Avocabros against OC Wiffles of LA, who have been really kicking into high gear the last few weeks. Taking out Avocabros in a huge win, 11-2. Don't call it a blowout, but this was not even that close between these two squads. But OC Wolves of LA really looking solid out there.
Yeah, I believe I made a mistake on last week's podcast. I think I said the OC Wolves and Avocabras had played each other before last week. I was obviously wrong as they played each other this week. I believe the first game it was 11-4 between these two teams in favor of the OC Wolves, but OC Wolves are having a very good season so far. There are only two losses coming to the Trash Pandas. They managed to beat the Beach City Bombers as well. And for the Cavaliers, they got their important win that they needed earlier. This one brings them back down to 500, but they're only a half a game out of being in that D1 playoffs. They're currently trailing the Beach City Bombers by just half a game, and just that's only because they've played one more game than the Beach City Bombers. So it's going to be very interesting how things shake out there with that 4 or 5 seed. Who's going to get in? Who's going to get out? Or get into the D2, I mean. But for OC Wolves of LA, that's another very good win for them. They continue to move up in the They continue to keep their spot in the standings. Much improved from the previous 2 seasons, but however, their schedule does look rather daunting for them the last couple weeks. They've got to play the LA Wolves of OC twice and also the Beach City Bombers once, and those are 3 out of their last 5 games. So that season's gonna very much come down to that week 8 for sure. Week 7 could be a good indicator as to how they're going to finish off. But it looks like they've almost certainly secured a playoff spot in D1, but nothing's guaranteed yet for them.
Yeah, definitely will be, and it's going to be a test for them just to see how solid of a team they actually are going up against their friends and teammates in the LA Wolves of OC, and then obviously you talked about them playing against one of the other tougher teams as well later in the schedule. So this becomes that test in there. Kind of see where they fit in the playoffs towards the end. Anyway, so just keep an eye on that throughout the next couple weeks. This should be really good games either way. Moving on though to the next game, the first game of the day for the LA Wolves of OC taking on Whoosh, who are looking to at least keep themselves alive. They already have a spot so far in the D2 playoffs. Here they are against the LA Wolves of OC, and this one was somewhat close at the very beginning, and then the LA Wolves of OC kind of broke it open towards the end. But the final score 22-12, a 10-run lead over the Whoosh, and LA Wolves of OC puts themselves in another good position as well.
Yeah. This was an interesting game. A little bit of a struggle with the second pitcher for the LA Wolves of OC. Tommy or Justin couldn't find the zone too much in the third inning, giving up some runs. But the bats were definitely there. Stephen Hayden had his bat back working. It's like he remembered how to hit. I think he had 4 home runs in the game. I think everyone on the team for the LA Wolves of OC had 3 or 4 home runs. So they were hitting the ball over the place. Had some funny moments mixed in there with Justin getting frozen on a pitch that went about 30 feet in the air. I knew he had Anthony on one, but he popped it out instead of letting it hit the zone. Stuff like that. It was a good time overall. And speaking of Whoosh, I don't know if you saw this, but congratulations to Ryan Miller, our former teammate as well, with his engagement, I believe it is, with you haven't seen the Instagram.
Whoa.
With Nikki, but with both members of OC for a little bit. Obviously, Ryan started with the other Wolves of OC, and Nikki's been around. Nikki's been around on Drew's, on Anthony's team, I should say. I don't know why Drew came to my mind, but looks like that's been official now. So, congrats to them. I'm saying I guess Ryan is a part of Whoosh, but I guess Justin has to go check it out and see for himself. But regardless, it seems that it seems getting back to the game here. It seems that Louis supposed to see are starting to find their groove a little bit, and for Whoosh, this kind of seemed like the last straw for them in terms of trying to get into that D1 playoffs. And just not able. They got some runs up. They got some runs up off the Louis supposed to see, but then just gave up too many runs there, which is kind of the opposite of what I've been saying throughout the rest of the year for them. But it just culminated with the opposite for them today.
Definitely so. And especially, with that second pitcher trying to find themselves for the Savosi. I mean, it's been consistent a couple of other weeks. It just kind of comes down to that matter of keeping that consistency. Tommy's been kind of keeping it consistent in a few games, but has been kind of missing that groove at times. Myself finding that groove a little bit towards the end of this game actually as well, and just it just comes down to what kind of consistency that matters, and how well you can continue to hit the zone every single time. Obviously, it's a different. I don't know if other people kind of notice this, but sometimes it's like the dirt field and the grass field have some odd difference. I don't know if anybody else gets that. I don't know if you get that, Steven, but like if sometimes feels like that switch between the dirt field and the grass field always feels like kind of different in terms of just where the mound is to the zone. But hey, that could just be me, right?
Just not ready for the bright lights, I guess.
Okay, because it's totally the lights that are above my head and I can't see anything, and me not being
bright lights, middle of the field, everyone's looking at you.
Yeah.
The nerves are getting to you. What are you gonna do?
Literally. Anyways, this would just be that first game of the day for the Savosi. We'll get to them a little bit later. Woosh has got to. They're basically secured in Division II playoffs either way. All they just need to do now is just continue playing good ball and trying to figure out how to get some wins and finish out the season solid and get ready for Division II playoffs, because they're right in there for the Division II playoffs with that, I believe, that second seed that they're holding right now as we're talking about this. Still trying to figure out exactly who that first seed is, but we'll see. We still got 2 more weeks to go. Anyways, moving on to the OC Juicers versus the Trash Pandas. Trash Pandas still looking good with that undefeated record, and once again prevailing in another great stand from the OC Juicers, keeping it close, 11-8 the final score between these two squads. But Trash Pandas ultimately continue to ride off that undefeated wave.
Yeah, a much closer game than I think people would have expected here. So I got told to I got told throughout this game you had I believe it was Joel Gonzalez had himself a game, had himself 4 home runs versus the Trash Pandas here, and for 2 losses, I mean the OC Juicers did play pretty well in both of them. Unlucky not to come out with a win, but they're playing good ball. They're sitting at 9-9 on the year. I mean, they're sitting at 3-9 right now, but have played some pretty good ball so far, and that could be a dangerous team for the D2 playoffs as they are now secured in there right now. I mean, with this, it all kind of just depends how you look at it. I would, like with the MLB, if you're 3-9 versus 2-7, technically the 3-9 team is above, but just the thing of that. Same thing with D2. It's like 8-3 versus 7-2. I would put 8-3 above right now, but I mean, it'll all even out at the end. Hopefully, it depends on how much the rain affects the fields and if we have to miss any weeks or anything like that. So. But overall, I mean, this is a relatively close game. We saw Trash Pandas have a close game in the first one. That was against a better team, the Beach City Bombers. And they only have an 11-8 score versus the OC Juicers. I mean, obviously guys like Nicholas Tone and Joe Gonzalez were able to do all right on the mound, limiting that offense of the Trash Pandas. But they're still riding high. So 11-0 on the season. They're trying to do what only 2 other teams have done before, is finish the regular season with a perfect season. So they continue to do it right here, 11-0 right now on the season.
Yeah, they definitely are, and really have kind of turned things around since the last couple of seasons. Obviously, they've always been in that playoff picture, but this is a lot different than what we've seen in the past with this squad. They've gone a couple spotty, seasons with, a couple losses here and there, but they've consistently kept it up there. This season, they're really turning the wave here. This is only the second game, though, so we're about to get to that next one, because this one is the big determinant on how well things go. And LA Wolves of OC taking on the Trash Pandas. The last time these two teams met, there was no Stephen Hayden, and the team kind of kept it close, but unfortunately weren't able to get it done in the last inning, where they had a chance to basically tie or take the lead in that game. But here, this is the rematch, and this time we have Steven available for this game, and things turned out kind of lopsided almost. But in terms of, I mean, in the beginning it was a little close, but with the bat of Tommy and Steven really finding his groove, 11-4 was the final score. Trash Pandas get that first scathe on their record, dropping that first loss of the season.
Yeah, an 11-4 game here. This is probably game of the week right here. One of the last games going on of the night. Very interesting result here. Trash Pandas. They had a couple close games early on in the day, but they had managed to come out of those with a victory. But for the other Wolfos, they got things going right away. A quick run in the first inning. I believe it was 6 runs in the second inning, and then 4 runs in the third inning. Made it 10-1 or made it 10-1 early in the third, and then it was 11-2, and that's by the top of the fourth. Um, I mean, it's huge when you have two people that are able to either hitting well on the same night. Dominic Crony, who I do believe didn't have a hit the first time these two teams played each other, had two singles in his first two at bats. Tommy added on with a home run or two in this game. Steven added on with a home run or two in this game. Started off with the leadoff triple to put a runner on third so Dominic can score him in. And then overall the LOSC were able to shut down the offense of the Trash Pandas relatively well. Tommy, I mean, had some good defense out there from Steven, making two sliding catches, putting my scar on the line. I kind of broke open my scar a little bit on one of these diving plays, but it is what it is. It's all fine now, so nothing bad happened to it. Then we saw some good pitching from the other Wolfos as well. Tommy Hernandez threw two good innings, only allowing 2 runs. And then Steven really stepped up with 4 innings, only allowing 2 runs, and keeping the bats off balance. You know, the Trash Bandits have seen me very well the past couple seasons, but this time it seemed like it was a little bit different. Steven was doing some better stuff, and overall, and ended up coming out with a big victory. You know, it's kind of poetic. You know, so he obviously had the last undefeated season last season, went all the way undefeated, but we're talking about regular season mainly. To be the team that stops another team from going undefeated is kind of funny. As we went undefeated last year, so it's kind of funny to look at. But overall, very 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 good game. It kind of throws a spanner into the works for the standings, which we'll talk about after these Purple League games. But I mean, regardless, the Trash Pandas they're already set. They're already 11-0 coming into this game. So overall, for their standings, this doesn't really affect them much at all.
Definitely does not, and we'll talk about what their positioning looks like because they basically did something with the last two games, getting those two wins on there. But this obviously being the first blemish on their record, especially with four guys, kind of tells you a lot of how well a team plays together. And Dominic Caroni stepped up, came in together, really put things through. Steven, we're finally seeing some really great stuff with the bat now that he's kind of starting to figure it out, right? You said it. Hey, you said it, man. Don't. I'm just quoting you.
No, I meant like I went from like hitting like 430 to back like up in the 550 range.
Oh, so 430 is a bad day for you. Wow. Oh my God. 430 is like the like a pipe dream for me. I think I'm at like a
Exactly.
300 batting average right now, but who cares about what I say? Anyways,
Yeah, luckily the stats aren't updated. Otherwise, your 329 might be going down.
I got some hits in this game. I got some hits in that other game. What are you talking about?
We'll see.
Okay.
We'll see when the stats come out.
We'll get to it on the episode 44, and then we'll go on from there. We do have one final game though. Pitches Gone Wild versus OC Juicers. Looks like on our end there is no score recorded on this, but we were also talking about earlier how the OC Juicers have been kind of picking it up. I mean, it's probably a good thing if you take on a team that doesn't have any wins yet and get a win anyways. OC Juicers got that win, as it seems from this sheet, and they walk away with another dub. So really looking out for a pretty dangerous team in the Division II playoffs in the OC Juicers.
Well, I think this may be more of this based off the fact that there's no score with it. This looks more like a pitcher's gone wild wasn't there or didn't show up. So I mean, you can take it how you want. I mean, a win is a win is a win, but regardless, yeah, the OC Juicers were playing good. They nearly handed the Trash Pandas their first loss of the season, and then kept it very close with the Avocabros. So, I mean, they're playing good ball. And that D2 playoffs, maybe they can get a good result. So it looks they're kind of if things were to end right now, they'd be playing against Whoosh in the in that semifinals of the D2 playoffs. So they split with Whoosh as well. So who knows what will happen with that.
Yeah, we'll definitely keep an eye on what exactly happened there. Um, yeah, like you said, I guess that I didn't know if that usually was a thing, like putting just win loss if one of the teams didn't show up or they had some issues or whatever. I just assumed that they somehow forgot the score or something got mixed up. We've seen that before. So just kind of taking a gander of whatever we got on the results that's been provided to us. But that does do it for the Orange League games. We'll go over the standing in just a second, but obviously got to touch base with the Purple League stuff first. So Pancake Banners versus Beach City Babes. That game was a victory for the Pancake Banners 15-5, and then the second game was the Sheeps versus the Beach City Babes, and they took the win 8-3. So they kind of bounced back after losing to Pancake Batters. So those standings look a little bit interesting, which we'll also mention as well. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the Week 6 breakdown. I ain't got nothing else.
All right, I guess we're not talking about the Purple League anymore. All right, sick.
No more, yeah. It's pretty quick and easy,
Okay,
you know?
I guess.
Oh, can't
Let
really
me talk. Let me talk.
give me some time. Give me some time. I mean, if you want to add something to it, the floor is yours.
Yeah. I mean, this is what we normally do. It's like you usually introduce a topic, and then I talk about it a little bit, and then we move on. So, yeah, with these Purple League, the Pancake Batters and the Beach City Babes are right up there. They've been splitting a lot of games between each other. We'll see if the Sheeps are able to do anything come playoff time, but as of right now, it kind of looks like a 2-horse battle. And the Pancake Batters, they seem like they want some revenge for the previous season. We'll see if that's able to happen as we go along here. A very good win here for Pancake Batters, getting a 15-5 victory here, and then Beach City Babes able to come back versus the Sheeps, get an 8-3 victory. Lower scoring game for Purple League than we usually see, but we'll see. We'll see how that affects both these teams going into the playoffs as they finish their last week. Their last week is at Week 7. There are no Purple League games on Week 8, so. We'll see what happens with that.
Well, I have a question because we're about to touch base on the standings here because we just mentioned that the Pancake Batters beat Beach City Babes, but Beach City Babes are technically in first place over the Pancake Batters because they're half of a game behind. I guess you're a baseball guru, right? What's going on there? How come the Pancake Batters are in first place over the Beach City Babes in this case?
Well, this is probably just more down to who's beaten who over the season. If I remember correctly, the sheet. Well, it's also based off who did the like their head-to-head matchup and things like that. As we look at it going into Week 7, for that you have the Beach City Babes. You have the Chiefs playing twice. The Chiefs will play each team above them. I believe they so in terms of the standings at this point. The Beach City Babes and Pancake Batters would have played each other 5 times, I think it is.
Oh, okay.
Or somewhere around, or 4 times, somewhere around. They're 6-9. They'll play one game next week. So it would have been around there would have been 5 times they've played each other, and so the Beach City Babes have beaten the Pancake Batters 3 times, and the Pancake Batters have beaten the Beach City Babes twice, I believe. So it's based off that head-to-head matchup. It's so if you want to check out more about the tiebreakers and things like that, you can go check it out on the website. First, it starts off with your conference record, then your overall record. Both of these teams have the same record. I mean, there's obviously one conference, and they both are 6-3. And then when you move on the third, a tiebreaker would be head-to-head result versus the team you're tied with. So that means that the Beach City Babes have beaten the Pancake Batters 3 times versus 2 times, because I know the Beach City Babes did take 1 loss to the Sheeps, so that's how they're 6-3. And the Pancake Batters have taken their 3 losses from the Beach City Babes. So that's how it works. Even though the run differential looks ginormous for the Pancake Batters.
Yeah. 71.
So that's how standings work.
Makes sense. Okay. For those of you who didn't know, just like me, now you do know. Thank you, Stephen Hayden. Looking at the Orange League standings, currently the Trash Pandas, like we talked about, holding that number one seed with the 11-1 record at the very moment. OC Wolves are right behind them, 7-2. LAOs of OC at 8-3, Beach City Bombers in the fourth seed at 5-4. Avocados an even 5-5 in the fifth seed. They'd be the number one seed for this Division Two playoffs as it stands right now. And then Whoosh is in that sixth spot. OC Juice is in that seventh spot with the 3-9 record. And then Pitches Gone Wild in that final spot with an 0-10 record at the very moment. The Trash Pandas have already secured a spot in the Division One playoffs. I don't know if that can move around whatsoever in the first four.
It seems like the Trash Pandas are basically secured the one seed.
Okay.
I mean, unless they were to lose, I mean, they'd have to lose their next two games, and the OC Wolves of LA would have to go undefeated. That would be the only case in which the Trash Pandas would not be the one seed. But I looking at their schedule, it kind of seemed like they're the only team they really had to get over the hump with was the other Wolves of OC to have that undefeated season. Because at this point they're playing two teams that are already guaranteed to be in the D2 playoffs. In Whoosh, they play Whoosh week 8, and they play the Avocabros, who are actually not guaranteed D2. So, I mean, it's one of those you never know. But I mean, we're pretty certain they're going to be finishing as the one seed. But it's just not set in stone yet. They just need the magic number for them is 1 to be that one seed.
Got it. Okay. And then Whoosh, OC Juice, and Pitches Gone Wild are basically secured in Division 2 playoffs. Their seeding is probably going to jump around a couple times. It kind of depends as well, but there's basically they're out of the conversation of getting into Division 1 playoffs at this point. Avocado still have a good chance. It just becomes a matter of what happens to Beach City coming down the road in the next couple of weeks here. So that's what the standings look like. I don't know if you got anything to add with the standings and how things look right at the very moment, Steven.
Yeah, I mean, things are very interesting in the standings right now. I know we have some teams such as the OC Wolves of LA and Whoosh who are going to have to play 5 games over the next 2 weeks because all these teams here in the Orange League are they're gonna end up playing 14 games. So you have some like the Trash Pandas who get 1 game each for the next 2 weeks, and you have teams like the OC Wolves of LA who will play a doubleheader. They'll play a triple header next week and then a doubleheader the week after. So it'll be interesting to see how things finish. As I mentioned, some teams have a little easier schedule than others in these last 2 weeks. Like I mentioned, the Trash Pandas, they have a little bit easier schedule these last 2 weeks to be. They can very easily secure that the one seed with just 1 win. Whereas the OC Wiffles, they got 5 games left, but 2 of those games are versus that 3 seed. And one of those games is versus the 4 seed as we currently stand. So it'll be very interesting to see how things finish up. I think the biggest surprise here is Beach City Bombers kind of fallen off a little bit. I think at one point they were 5-2 or 5-1, but now have lost their last. I know guaranteed at least lost their last 2 in a row. So it's going to be interesting to see how things finish up for them. Going to be a big game for Beach City Bombers versus OC Wolves of LA. That's going to be happening week 8, the very at 8:30. So that's going to be the very last game of the year. That can have a lot of playoff implications, but also will have a lot of playoff implications as the other Wolves of OC have to play the OC Wolves of LA twice. So if one of those teams sweeps those games, that's going to be very much an interesting factor to how this season finishes and what the standings are in terms of these semifinals and stuff.
Yeah, definitely so. I don't know if we want to throw a couple of predictions out there, even though we have 2 weeks to go, right? But I could realistically see OC Wiffles either finishing in that 2nd seed or that 3rd seed. I'd probably say, if you want to be real, maybe that 3rd seed they probably stick on to, and LA Wolves of OC, if they're able to win those 2 games against OC Wolves of LA, they steal the 2nd seed and just sneak in there. I feel like Beach City Bombers could realistically slide into the 3rd seed maybe, but I don't think so. Just the way that they've kind of been falling off a little bit. I don't know if it's either because of guys like Tyler Moore and having some issues at the plate, or if it's just because the righty pitching hasn't been working out, and more of Jordan Drexler is still doing the same thing as pitching dominantly, and then they get to that second pitcher, and then things start to kind of go downwards from there or whatnot. I kind of see the Avocado sticking in that spot, but at least that gives them a chance to really participate in the playoffs. I know they usually love to be in these games, and they've been looking for that playoff spot. Like the last time they made it, I think was a couple seasons ago. Into playoffs in general, and I think they're just looking for a chance to at least go for a title, and I think they just be satisfied with it with go grabbing a title at that stage in the Division Two playoffs. I feel like Wu should definitely be the team that makes it in that second spot of the Division Two playoff berth, and then OCG should be right behind him, and obviously Pitches Gone Wild. I mean, they got a lot to figure out. Who knows exactly what will happen? I'm not sure exactly if they've had some scheduling issues as well. But that's just kind of how I imagine things would play out towards the end, even though we got like 2 weeks ago. Unless you got like a say on like what you think would happen with the standings and how they'll finish out towards the end.
Yeah, you had some interesting predictions there. I do agree with a good amount of them. As I was going to say before, I was unfortunately really interrupted by my butthole. But for my predictions, it's very interesting. You have some teams like the LOSVC who are already 8-3, and you have some teams like those USLA who are 7-2. I do believe that I'm looking at the schedule right here. Let's talk first about that fourth, about who's going to finish in fourth and fifth. Stuff like that, or the Avocado is going to move up. The Avocados, they are at this moment. Let's look at the standings. They are 5-5, so that means they have 4 games left. They have one game. Yeah, they have one game in week 7 and 3 games in week 8. So, however, their one game in week 7 is versus the Trash Pandas. So, if I had to make a prediction, I would guess the Trash Pandas would win that game, as well as Avocados play the Beach City Bombers in week 8. And then they also play Whoosh, and they also play Pitches Gone Wild. I think realistically for them, they would end that. I think would be good for them is if they end 2-2 for the rest of the season. They would finish off 7-7, or if they can go 3-1, that would be huge for them. But my prediction, I would guess they go 2-7. They go 2-2. And that's those last 4 games, finishing off at the season 7-7. Looking at the Beach Bombers here, looking at the standings, I kind of consider the LOSVC the 2 seed right now, even though they're the 3 seed on the actual standings. I consider them the 2 seed right now. For Beach City Bombers, they have 5 games left. So week 7, I believe, is they have 2 games. So week 7, Beach City Bombers, they play Whoosh and they play OC Juicers. I can see them beating both of those teams. And then they play Avocados, they play OC Wolves of LA, and Pitches Gone Wild. So that Avocados Beach City Bombers game is going to be pretty crucial to that. Pretty much, I would say whoever wins that one is going to end up winning the whole winning that 4 spot. But with also the fact that Beach City Bombers have a couple games in hand, have a game in hand. I'm going to predict that the Beach City Bombers do stay in the D1 playoffs, and that the Avocados will finish as the 5 seed. That's my prediction. As for the 2, 3, and 4 seed now, well, Trash Pandas are staying as the 1 seed. I can see them closing that up next week. They've already clinched a D1 playoff spot. They're the only team to clinch up the D1 playoff spot at this point. So I mean, you have a team like the LOSVC who could possibly move to 1, but possibly drop all the way down to 6 if things just do not go their way. So, but in terms of OC Wilson LA, they do, as I said, they do play each other twice, and the LOSVC also play the OC Juicers in week 8 in part of their doubleheader. Whereas this coming Tuesday, the OC Wolves of LA have 3 games versus LA Wolves. They play Pitches Gone Wild, and they also play Whoosh. If they can go 3-0 during that stretch, I think they're going to secure that. And I think they're going to secure that 2 seed. As with week 8, they play LOSVC and they play the Beach City Bombers. So that's a tough stretch for them. My overall prediction is that the LOSVC will finish as the 2 seed. You have the OC Wolves finishing as the 3 seed, and the Beach City Bombers finishing as the 4 seed. There. However, I can see that the Beach City Bombers sneaking up into third, or the OC Wolves falling into fourth. Those big matches when these teams play each other is going to be important. Maybe LA will see they're on a groove. They've kind of figured out their second pitcher a little bit when it's necessary. There have been some games where it's been a struggle, but the offense has been extremely good for the LOSOC. Looking at their stats, through the first 5 weeks, the LOSOC have the second highest batting average in the league, just behind the Trash Pandas. The LOSOC have a 374 team average, and the Trash Pandas have a 417 batting average, but LOSOC also have one of the better on-base percentages in the league. But so do the Trash Pandas and the OC Wolves of LA. So that's going to be interesting to see how that one finishes up. But overall, that's my prediction right now is that LOC will finish second. You have the OC Wolves in third, and Beach City Bombers finishing out in fourth. It's going to be a very much a race to the end for the OC Wolves of LA. I think they'll end up finishing 3-2 in this final stretch. I think the LOC will win out. And the big thing is going to be that Beach City Bombers OC Wolves game. I think it's going to very much come out down to that, to where the winner of that gets the 3 seed, and the winner and the loser of that gets the 4 seed. So it could also be all based off matchups as well. Who do you want? Who would you rather play? Would you rather play the Trash Pandas, who have beaten everybody except the LOC, or would you, or for the LOC, would you rather see the OC Wolves or the Beach City Bombers in the first round? So it'll be very interesting to see how that finishes out for the D1 playoffs.
I mean, all these teams that are like right now in the top 4 are extremely competitive teams. They all have the ability to, show off their star-studdedness. David Quiroz has really been popping out for the OC Wolves of LA. That's a name we've mentioned a couple of times, or many times on the last few episodes. Ethan Lee has also been kind of keeping it somewhat consistent. James Lee is a dangerous pitcher as always. Ethan Raffin is a big hit as well. Trash Pandas, they stumbled against Wolves of OC in that game, but they've been solid throughout the year. So I kind of expect them to really kind of bounce back in the next couple weeks and take things away with that. And then LA Wolves of OC, if they can figure out that second pitcher, that also becomes that defining factor in what happens with the last couple of weeks for them, whether it's Tommy Hernandez or if it's Justin Lee or if it's both that just kind of figure things out, and they can technically have 3 guys that can solidly pitch just as consistently. And then Beach City Bombers, we know they have talent, right? It just becomes a matter if Jordan remains the same, and if Tyler Moore consistently does what he's always been doing the last few years, is just being a consistent, well-rounded pitcher as well. So all these 4 teams have dangerous factors built in. It would be a definite shame if one of these teams weren't in these D1 playoffs. But I feel like equally all these teams are going to be competitive as heck. So, and once we get closer to that end, when we start making our playoff predictions and what happens, it's going to be interesting just to analyze, how much of a stretch these games are going to go, whether all these games are basically going to go to that third game, and that determines on who makes it through and whatnot. So I'm excited to see just how close this race is going to go down to the wire, and who's going to eventually match up with each other. And match up with each other, indeed, just like the March Madness bracket that's been happening. I don't know how your bracket's doing, but mine's is already in the dumpster.
All right. Well, let me go back. I was gonna add on some more before you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Decided to transition, but with all this, it can go a lot of different ways. You could see the Beach City Bombers could go anywhere from the 2 spot to the 5 spot by the end of the season. If OC Wolves could go from the 1 to the 5 and things like that. So it's one of those things. It's like you never know what's going to happen here. It's just going to be who's going to come out there, who's going to play well. I think the biggest matchup to look for overall in terms of defining these standings is going to be the Stephen Hayden pitching versus James Lee hitting. James has kind of had my number in OC wiffle ball. Not as much in other styles of play, because we haven't really played each other much in other styles of play, but James has had my number hitting, and without a couple of good defensive plays, he'd have even more hits off of me. So it's going to be interesting how that shakes up. I know the Beach City Bombers, they want revenge on the OC Wolves of LA, beating them earlier in the season. It was a 3-1 game. I know they want revenge for that. It's just whether they're going to be able to do it. Tyler Moore's numbers on pitching wise have gone up a little bit. There was at one point they were both below a 1 ERA, and as I said at the time, it's like that's not going to stay the way it is forever. And Tyler Moore's numbers have jumped up a little bit, but Charlie Phillips has still got some good numbers in there in his limited pitching, and Jordan Dresser has got some good numbers as well. Somewhat similar to his MVP season last year, but there's not as many innings and things like that, and nearly as many runs given up. And it just seems like the Beach City Bombers has not been as good as we thought it would be at the beginning of the year, because at the beginning of the year I thought it was kind of, after the first week or two, it was kind of runaway between Beach City Bombers and Trash Pandas. It was going to be who's going to beat who and who's going to get the 1 and 2 seed. But Beach City Bombers have faced a couple losses, one to each of the LA Wiffles teams. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this all shakes out at the end. It's going to be very much a race to the finish, as is March Madness.
Yeah, it will be. I mean,
that's how you transition.
That's a good one. That's a good one. I like it.
Here's what's good as well. I'm just joking around.
I know. You had a great transition earlier. I didn't know if I needed to censor you saying the B word or not. Obviously, this podcast is not. There's no kids that are watching the podcast, so I guess it's okay.
What? I didn't say the B word. What do you mean?
Your butthole. Okay, happy.
That's oh, come on.
Okay, fine. We'll leave it in there.
that is not a bad one. I could have. Do you want to actually censor this or no?
No, don't say anything. Don't say anything.
Well, actually, hold on. You missed all my censor before, so are you going to censor this one as well, or
go ahead, say
you're
it?
Not
I dare
censor
you.
Me saying the F word, but you're going to censor me saying butthole. Even though I told you like 4 times, it's like, yeah, censor this out. It just didn't happen, but it's alright.
Nobody knows where that is because I already cut it out, so it's already gone. So, I mean, you could probably go find it if you want to, if you have no life.
Oh, it should be still in there. If it's not,
no, I took it out already. It's already gone. It's already gone. The cut's already there.
God.
It's gone. Yeah.
I'm gonna go check right now.
While that's happening,
you start talking about your bracket.
Yeah.
How's your bracket doing?
Well, that's happening. Yeah, no, my bracket's already done for. I mean, I have San Diego State going all the way, but the other teams have not worked out exactly the way I wanted it to go. I didn't choose Oakland to win any games, right? And they obviously took one away. Auburn losing out to Yale was also a big hit on my bracket as well, which also sucks. But it's been kind of surprising to see all these teams. And speaking of which, Yale is playing San Diego State later at the time of this podcast being recorded, so that's going to be an interesting game to watch, but who knows? By the time you're watching this, that result's probably going to be already out there. But San Diego State, I've got in there. Hopefully by the end of this podcast, they're not knocked out. And then obviously,
I hope they are.
The usual suspects are still kind of in there. Like Tennessee's still in there.
Not Kentucky.
Yeah, Gonzaga winning yesterday was also huge. And then obviously Oregon also as well has been interesting. But yeah, my bracket's not as great. I don't know how yours looks right now, Steven.
Yeah, it's been an interesting match. Sorry, I'm looking at this clip trying to see if you actually edited this out.
You're really working it in there. I mean,
you just cut the whole clip, man. Why don't you cut the whole clip? Just leave me out like you said you were going to, like 5 times.
It's technically a censorship, like.
It was up there, and it was up there, but. So I was a little distracted. I was a little distracted by that.
You can't find it now.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I've got Yale beating San Diego State tonight, so I'm hoping that happens.
Bruh.
Actually, my bracket is going pretty good so far. In terms of ESPN, I'm in like the 4. I'm under 1 million in terms of the rank. I'm like at the 401k rank in terms of in terms of my bracket. So far for the OC football group. I am currently in first place as well. I have the best potential, and I'm also leading in points at this moment, as well as I'm leading in another bracket with one of our fellow former teammates, Joaquin Jimenez, and I'm also even in the MLW. bracket challenge. I'm out of 450 members. I'm tied for eighth right now. So
Mm.
bracket's doing all right so far. I've made some good ones. Obviously everyone gets some wrong. My big jump, my reach this year was St. Peter's was gonna run some of their magic from a couple years ago and make it to the Sweet 16, but they got knocked out. But I made some good picks. I did pick Oregon to beat South Carolina. I think a lot of people didn't have that. I got robbed on a couple as well, such as the what's it called, the Dayton Nevada game. Nevada was up 17 in the second half, and then blew it at the end. Then blew it. I had a couple good upsets I chose, but and then so far for this round of 32, I've been pretty good as well. The only one I've only gotten a couple wrong so far. I did pick Michigan State to beat North Carolina, which they got smacked by 16 points. But other than that, I've been pretty good with stuff. I had UConn, obviously. I had Illinois, which Illinois is, I mean, it's a homer pick. I'm just picking them to win it all just because it's a homer pick for me, because of the family that went there and things like that. Iowa State correct. I got Alabama correct over GCU. I did predict Grand Canyon University to beat St. Mary's in the first round. That was a good one for me. I got Houston. Houston's still playing right now as we're speaking. I got Duke. I did choose NC. Even if Kentucky would have made it to this round of 32, I had NC State beating them. So that's why my bracket's not too horrible, because I only had Kentucky getting one win this year instead of two. I got Marquette right. I got Purdue right. I got Gonzaga right. I do. I do. I think I got Gonzaga going all the way to the finals. So they better keep winning. So we'll see about that. And I've got it right. I had Texas losing the second round, but I'm losing to St. Peter's instead of Tennessee. So overall, my bracket's been pretty good for a bracket I threw together at 2 a.m. the night before. So my bracket's been pretty good.
Okay. You got lucky. Did you get Kansas right?
I did get Kansas right. I got Kansas moving on. I had Gonzaga beating Kansas in the next round.
Okay. I was gonna say like that Kansas.
I've got some good luck this year. I've had some better luck this year than I've had in the past. But
you got some really good luck.
The sweet
in that Kansas and Sanford game. That call was ridiculous.
Oh.
Yeah, so you got lucky with that. The refs gave that one to you. So they're like, this Stephen Hayden guy, we should probably just give it to him.
They're still up one. They were still up one.
Yeah. Then that terrible block.
I picked Colorado upsetting Florida, which that was another ref job I heard.
Yeah.
And then but I also got screwed on one with the what's it called? I just talked about it earlier.
The Dayton.
Yeah, Dayton, Nevada. I believe it was Dayton, Nevada. It was either Dayton, Nevada, or it was one of those 7-10 games. Yeah, I believe it was Dayton, Nevada. My bracket's been relatively good so far. So I'm currently leading. I believe the prize for the OC Wiffle one is like an ice cream party or something for your team.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to bring that home to the other Wiffles. We'll see if I can do that, though. I think right now I'm actually in pretty good shape to do it. So I'll go through this bracket. There's 6 people in the OC Wiffle Ball March Madness. You have me. I don't know who Big Brain Bracket is. I guess it's a North Carolina fan because they chose North Carolina to win. You have Joaquin Jimenez. You have Katie Shinrock. You have Anthony Agrusa. And then you have, in last place, Ethan Lee, who's Ethan Lee's had a sneaker in this, to be honest. I'm just going to be honest with him.
I'm sure he'll watch this later.
He really has.
Yeah.
He chose South Carolina to make it all the way to the final, to national championship. So
yeah, that's
there's this mistake right there.
Yeah,
I had a feeling Oregon was going to win it, and I predicted that correctly. So what we do?
Yeah, I mean, so far, like a lot of the teams that are making it into the Sweet 16 are just kind of the top seeded teams. Like the only one that's like not out of the blue is kind of NC State. They're 11th seed, but I think a lot of people kind of underestimated how good of a team they are. And then obviously we don't
after tonight.
Yeah, we don't know if that is going to happen yet because that game hasn't.
It's going to happen.
You shush.
You put that score up right now. If I'm willing
you want it? Okay.
I'm willing to look stupid.
All right, I guess I'm editing that now. All right.
But if Yo wins, I look like an absolute genius.
Hey, Charles Barkley said that there's no way Auburn could lose to the Nerds. Well, gotta get
Yeah,
that clip later.
San Diego State just barely beat UAB as well. That was a 5-12 matchup. Y'all barely beat them.
That's true.
This ain't this.
They need
This ain't the
Ladie.
San Diego State this last year.
They need Ladie and Butler to just play their hearts out. That's it. That's it, man.
This ain't the San Diego State of last year. I'm sorry.
No, they haven't. This season they've been kind of rough around the edges, and plus Mountain West teams have been pretty good this year, but obviously not a lot of them have made it so far in this Sweet 16 bracket. Besides them, basically, yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, Nevada gone. New Mexico State gone. So yeah, all those Mountain West teams are just like they look good the entire season, then they just couldn't finish it towards the end, and who knows?
So they're like
I'll put it right
the Big
here.
12 teams when they get to the college football playoff, aka Oklahoma
Damn.
or Texas.
Damn.
Yeah, well, one interesting one with this, I did see a couple days ago. You have So I have Clemson actually going all the way to the Final Four in my brackets,
Ooh.
and the fellow Clemson man himself, Anthony Agrusa, actually chose Clemson to get eliminated in the second rounds, which I found
Ooh.
interesting because they actually won their second round game versus Arizona, I believe.
Going
it
against
was.
his own alma mater. What in the heck?
That he did. I was surprised to see that, but yeah, I actually do have Clemson, the 6th seed, making it all the way to the Final Four. So someone's got to support Clemson out here. But it was interesting. It was good. I mean, you could call it. I mean, I wouldn't. I think it would have been fine if Anthony just let him put him in all the way. I was surprised he didn't pick them as the winner to just for school pride and things like that. But he was trying to be as honest as he can. And unfortunately, backfired on him.
Yeah, obviously that didn't happen because now they're in the Sweet 16. So yeah, you've got them going on. A guy who goes to Westcliff University has no affiliation with Clemson whatsoever, and then the other guy who's running the league has. I mean,
it's just a feeling.
Feeling.
I think they're gonna find a way to beat Arizona.
Okay, all right. I guess we'll figure out what happens.
At
with
least
that
that's what my bracket says. They just beat Baylor. So, I mean, a lot of these were just kind of random picks to be quite honest. So, this year was a little more random. This year was a little more random for me than the previous years. Like I don't like doing actually real in-depth stuff. It's just like looking at how the teams did, how they did in their conference and things like that, and then just picking off of that. But this year was very much last minute and just kind of pick some teams that have just pick some different stuff. You got to pick some upsets here and there. Sometimes you got to pick some certain stuff like UConn making it all the way to the final. But I believe in this one, in my bracket, I don't have a single 1 seed making it to the Final Four. So we'll see what happens with that.
That's a big oof, for sure.
I've got Illinois. I've got 3 seed Illinois. I've got 6 seed Clemson, and I've got 2 seed Marquette. And what seed is Gonzaga? Gonzaga is 5 seed.
Yeah.
5 seed Gonzaga. So I don't have. I don't have a 1 seed making it. So even the teams like UConn and Houston, I don't have them making it to the. I mean, Purdue's not going to make it. We all know what they do. So yeah, I've got those teams. I've got no 1 seeds, but we'll see if that backfires on me. It very easily could.
Yeah.
And things could go down the drain. But right now things are good in the bracket.
Okay. We got Sweet 16 coming up pretty soon. So this being the final day of the second round, so we'll know exactly who is pretty much making it in. Houston and Texas A&M are still playing right now as we're speaking. They just started the second half. But anyways, back to OCU football stuff. Obviously, we have the last couple of weeks coming through here. The All-Star game, we don't know exactly. Tentatively, right now, it's been rescheduled to next weekend. But we don't know if that's going to get moved with the weather forecast showing a couple of rain clouds in the upcoming weather. So who knows what's going to happen with that exactly. The golf tournament, as we're recording this, already just happened as well. They played at Oso Creek Golf Course. If you're checking out the Instagram story, you would have seen who was playing out there. I know you mentioned some stuff with Ryan Miller and some other people, but I didn't really see who exactly won. But I know I'm guessing Joe Reese probably is in there like he always is, because that guy is playing PGA golf and he is for whatever reason playing OC wiffle ball golf tournament. So who knows what's going on with that? But Yeah,
Well, I mean, Reese is not the two-time defending champ right now. You actually had Alan Yakovlev, who had won the previous two tournaments,
that's
OCU
right.
football tournaments, I should say. I'm looking for the names right now, but you did have a tie actually for this winner here.
Oh,
You had there were a good amount of groups out there. So I'm looking at this list. It was doubles, best ball scramble. Looking at the list, you had a good crowd out there. You had 10 pairs out there overall, and not including Anthony, because Anthony doesn't really play in these too much. He's more of a he's more the organizer and things like that. He goes around and makes sure things are going good. You had 10 different groups. And the at the end it ended up being a tie for the winner for first place. You did have Joe Reese in there this time, as well as Sean, his partner, his golf partner for the day. They were a team, and you also had the two-time defending champs with Alan Yakovlev and Christina Adams, Danks, I believe it is. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce her last name, but those two had won the previous two, and these two teams had actually ended up splitting the prize pool because they both finished with a score of -2 at the course in Mission Viejo. So, good day for them. Neither one. I mean, we couldn't make it out. We were busy with other things. So, good to see that they were able to get the job done and able to seem like it was a pretty good day out there.
definitely does. I mean, it's a good thing that there wasn't any rainy conditions too as well. I know that was like in the forecast earlier in the week as well. So good thing that that didn't happen. So they got to have their fun out there, and obviously maybe we'll try to go out to some of those golf tournaments in the future. Steve, you and I were both on a team, which was awful because I didn't know how to hit for crap. So
Yeah, we got to teach you some golf stuff if we're gonna go out there again.
I've been working on it. I've been hitting
Actually,
up the
I'm not.
range the last few weeks. So I just need to. It's the I'll tell you, the chipping is my least strong suit at this moment. So I'm gonna have to get back in the workout regimen and how to fix that exactly. So
The worst of three evils.
yeah, literally. So yeah, who knows? But still got plenty of ball to play left. We got 2 more weeks to go. Just keep an eye on the OC Football Instagram to kind of just see what happens with the All-Star game schedule and where that sits. I'm sure hopefully it's on a day where you and I can show up to and participate, which is interesting because Jordan Drexler was not actually at the Home Run Derby as well this weekend, which is ironic because we usually, people who are back-to-back champs usually show up to defend their title. So I'm not trying to call him out, but he wasn't there. So he got saved by the weather, basically, if he wants to go back out there and try again. So I don't know if they're just going to keep the same few guys for whatever the first round, blah, 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 or they're just going to reset the whole thing. But who knows exactly what happens with that. But yeah, playoffs are coming up very, very soon. We're going to keep an eye out. You heard our predictions here first, and we're going to make those predictions, obviously, before that playoff week happens. So that'll happen actually coming up pretty soon because we've got the first week of April happening fast. And then, obviously, when the playoffs are over, we jump right into the summer season, just in the middle of that. And I think eventually we'll try to get some special guests on here as well. SoCal Whiff is also wrapping up with their season as well. Draft video is gonna eventually come out whenever. What else? Am I missing anything at all about any wiffle ball world stuff, Steven? I know you're a guy that's more well versed in this stuff.
Yeah. Maybe by the time this podcast is up, the ALCS will be going out for SoCal Football. Did not come out as normal Sunday as Dustin is out of town for some other stuff, but the ALCS is my team versus Mitchell Downing and PJ's team. You'll get games 1 of 3 of that, and it's a battle for sure. It's a very interesting battle, and you'll see some interesting stuff with the games and things like that. But that's a good battle overall, and it's going to be interesting to see how things. I mean, obviously, I know how they shake out, but it's going to be to see how things go, and then things will start right back up right away for SoCal football. Some stuff has already been going down and things like that. So we'll see what happens for next year. About a month away from setting out a group to York, Pennsylvania, to play in the Mid Atlantic Wiffle Tournament. I know Dustin and Ethan Johnson are going to go play out there, along with some other guys such as Logan Christie, Trevor Bauer, and then a couple MLW guys as well. In Jackson Pearson and Sawyer Bean are going to be going out there as well to play for SoCal Wiffle. So I can't make it because of my baseball priorities, but maybe I'll make one of these out there in the future. But I think things are starting to pick up, as I have kept saying for the previous 4 weeks on the podcast. But we'll see how things go, and it's kind of starting to be get some good times out here. But for us, we're just finishing up stuff right now in terms of our season.
Okay. So, we'll just keep an eye on what that looks like in the other world of wiffle ball. But looks like that should be it for our program here today on episode 43. A little bit shorter episode, but hope you guys enjoyed these episodes the last couple weeks that we've been knocking out for you guys. And that you're always tuning in and watching the content. OC Wiffle Ball's Instagram will keep you guys updated on everything that's happening, especially with the weather. Who knows exactly what's going to happen? It's been kind of up in the air for the most part. But yeah. Looks like we'll see you guys in episode 44 coming up this next weekend. We got plenty of ball to still play left, so let's dive right into it, and we'll see you guys very, very soon on this upcoming Tuesday. Justin Lee and Stephen Hayden. We shall see you guys in the next episode. Take care and have a good one.
We're done.